Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Hey, welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. My name is Sean. I'm joined by Kyle. I'm glad you're here, Kyle, and all of our listeners, the millions of them.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in today. Kyle, what's going on in your world?
When I was in college, when we were both in college, we're the same age.
Here we go.
The Sacramento Kings were in the playoffs almost every year with the LA Lakers, right?
They were a big deal.
Yeah, me and my roommates would watch every single Kings game, every single one. And it was a big part of our friendship culture. Like, the Kings were huge in our friend group. So I recently bought a baseball card as a gift for my nephew.
Okay.
And I was searching around on eBay. It was like real cheap, right? And so I was like, "Oh, it was a fun gift, and it wasn't very expensive."
Yeah.
So I was looking around, and I was like, "I wonder if they have any Sacramento Kings cards." Of course they do.
Hold on, let me back up, because if your nephew ever listens to this, I feel like his takeaway is it was cheap, so whatever. Like, maybe you say it was affordable.
Yeah.
Because you're a poor nephew.
I know, yeah, I shouldn't tell him.
It wasn't a collector's.
I refuse to spend a lot of money on
All right, anyway.
Yeah. We don't even have to refer to the price. I bought a gift for my nephew on eBay, and it was a baseball card.
Yeah, cool.
So I kept looking on eBay, and I was looking for Sacramento Kings 2002, 3, 4, and I found these cards, and they were like $1.50 each. So I started buying I bought 3 of them. Okay. I bought Bobby Jackson and Mike Bibby and Chris Weber, something like that.
Wow.
So I ordered these cards. All right, cool. Well, eBay takes forever to ship. So like 3 weeks later, I get them in the mail, and I was embarrassed by how stoked I was on this car. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And they're like, I love them so much.
Wow.
And they're these, obviously it's because they take me back to a time in my life that I really, really love. So anyway, I put them in the little safe in my apartment or in my condo.
They're important
because they're like, they're my prized possessions now.
That's
so
awesome.
I've been looking. I bought a card of Rick Adelman, the coach. I bought I think I have 9 or so now.
Okay.
And the latest one I bought is a Brad Miller signed card.
Nice.
And so I'm kind of rationing up the ante, and I don't know how far this is gonna go, but yeah, I love it.
It sounds like a midlife crisis, because you're 43 and you're just now starting to collect basketball cards and
I know
whatever.
I didn't quite put that together.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Now that you say it, it's very true.
Do you know the name Doug Christie? Was he a player?
Yeah. Yep. I bought one of his cards, an MVP card. Yeah.
He's the interim head coach right now. But did you hear what Mike Bibby is doing right now?
No, I don't know.
He just took over the men's basketball team at Sac State.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
he's
Good
now
for
the
him.
head coach at that level. And I don't know if you've heard this, but Sac State is trying, they're revamping their whole sports program and trying to get to a different level. I don't know the levels, and I won't pretend to know, but to get to a different tier or level of competition. So I think my Bibby was part of a strategic move to help do that for all the programs, right? Football, women's, men's, all of their sports stuff. They want to get to a different division. And another fun fact, he just signed Shaquille O'Neal's son. I don't know his name, I don't remember,
State?
but at Sac State, yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
How cool is that? Like, people know I don't care. I don't follow sports, but to think Shaq's probably going to be in town every now and then, hanging out at a game at Sac State. Like, that's kind of cool, right? So,
yeah,
kind of
for
a
sure.
fun
Well,
recognition for the city
and
the school.
At that time, back when we were watching and they were in the finals and all that stuff, it was Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah,
were the big two on the Lakers, right? So yeah that's cool.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah, definitely some cool stuff. Well, can't say that I was super excited about that conversation. I didn't enjoy a ton of it, but I do appreciate you being upfront about your midlife crisis.
And by the way, Sean, I'm going to send you my Mike Bibby card so you can take it over to Sac State and have him sign it at one of the games. So,
right, there's a fee for that.
I'll pay it.
Hey, let's get into our feature conversation today. Katie has been a friend of ours for many years. In fact, our first interview with Katie goes all the way back to episode 34. That was a long time ago, Kyle.
Long time ago, yeah. Holy cow.
Katie's firstborn thrust her and the family into the rare disease world due to a telomere biology disorder, or TBD, that he faced at a very young age. Her son, Riley, is thriving and in his mid-20s today, but Katie has stayed involved in patient advocacy. As the executive director of what's known as Team Telomere today, and her personal mission aligns well with that of the organization, to empower individuals impacted by TBDs with the information and support, to advance improved diagnosis, and to accelerate the medical and scientific community's research in finding causes, effective treatments, and a path towards a cure. We were privileged to sit down face-to-face with Katie in Philadelphia, and we've been looking forward to sharing this conversation with you. Please enjoy our chat with Katie.
Katie, thank you for joining us. We're here in Philadelphia. We've got the Young Investigator Draft tomorrow night. Your organization has been nominated for a draft pick, and so that's really exciting. We've had you on the show a couple times now. The first time we interviewed you was in 2018. Thanks for being here again with us.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah, we were all in our 30s back then. So.
I remember during COVID, we played a stupid game.
We had fun.
Zoom.
I think I got cut. I think we cut it because my humor goes
we made
certain ways.
a silly video. We started to think, oh, this would be cool. And I don't think we ever did anything with it.
It was fun,
We need
though.
to resurrect
it was
that
fun.
as an unreleased.
We'll find that
extra.
somewhere. I know it exists.
I know.
So, what I wanted to ask you about today is, I know your organization has developed a whole lot since 2018. I mean, that was a long time ago. So just wanted to kind of get your perspective on the development and, what were the things that were important to you guys and where you're at right now?
Yeah. So Team Telomere is in its 15th year, and I've been with the organization for 8 now. I think a lot of our growth is structure and all of those, part of it is the boring pieces of nonprofit, right? Like the not fun pieces of getting structure and strategic plans and operational plans and making sure we're sticking to a budget. And some of that is making sure that we're staffed and not, all volunteer run. And I think there's been a tremendous amount of growth in that. And then I always come back to, I know you guys know this, our care package program, I feel like is always the foundation of both the patient advocacy side, but also the research side. Because I think research is a promise that you can't fulfill without trust, and you need trust in your community. So I think that's been a big part of our success.
How many care packages do you send out annually?
So on average, it's about 35. And we saw during COVID, we saw a big influx of applications, I think, because we didn't have any ability to be together in person. And telomere biology disorders are still so rare that 35 doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is a pretty good number in rare disease of community reach.
When you think about the families that are attached to those 35 patients, it's quite a bit. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and the doctors and nurses maybe that surround that family for the care. I think it's a lot more than it might sound.
No,
for sure.
It's totally that ripple effect, for sure.
Yeah, I love that you highlight both the necessary, quote, boring things, and then also the heart of the organization, which is, the care package program and the people of the organization. Because I think that you balance those two aspects really well. And those are two essential aspects, right? You have to have both at maximum capacity.
Yeah.
Let's start, I guess, with the boring stuff.
Okay.
What have been the most important things since we last talked to you, since 2018 in the development?
Yeah. So you guys know, Kyle, you're good friends with Bruce Friedman. He really started the strategy part of Team Telomere. Our original name was Dyskeratosis Congenita Outreach, which was a mouthful, but rightfully so. That was the diagnosed name that people understood the disease. And as research and understanding of the disease evolved, we understood there was a broad spectrum of telomere biology disorders, and dyskeratosis congenita was only one of them. So part of that was marketing correctly. When we said dyskeratosis congenita, we saw scientists kind of, especially young investigators, kind of glaze over.
Mm-hmm.
But if we said telomere, people got really excited. And we've seen that growth because there is more to this umbrella than just this subset of the TBDs. So creating strategy around our marketing, creating strategy around our board development. You guys have helped a ton with getting the messaging out. Fundraising, you just can't do anything without right the funds.
Right.
So all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you talk about messaging and branding. Maybe I love Team Telomere. There's no other organization in our space with a name like that, and I can imagine that it's a lot different when a young researcher, as you mentioned, they see the word team. In front, at the front, and they're like, all right, this is awesome. I get to join a team that's interested in telomere biology,
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased because I love the name and all of that, but I think truly, so the foundation of the organization came out of the NIH. They brought together families. There was just a small group of families. And it really was about supporting one another in their most difficult time, diagnosis and the journey and all of that. I came to the organization through my own child's journey, so understood that dynamic, but I also had a deep interest in the science. And so to me, you could have community support, and it's great, but I was really interested in advancing the science and the research. And so I wanted everyone that came to us to feel like they were on a team. Like the researchers, the scientists, the parents, the adult patients, the kids, everybody that's in it needs to feel like they've got a team surrounding them.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I know you're in one of the cohorts for CZI. Can you tell us, what do you think are the one or two most beneficial things that you've developed because of your relationship with CZI, because of that program?
Yeah, that was, I got the notification on my Apple Watch, and I was at the UPS store, and it said congratulations, right? And it's a $600,000 grant. This is an amount of money that rare disease organizations can only hope for. And when it's achieved, Kendall Davis, I text her first, and she was like, "How often do you get an opportunity to change the world?"
Mm-hmm.
So for us, CZI was pivotal in structure. I talked about that. Like, it's a capacity building grant. It's not a research grant. It's not a science grant. It's really understanding, like, you have to have a foundation to your organization. The resources that they've been able to give us outside of the 600,000 have been phenomenal. I have a mentor who was with the MS Society. His name is John Scott. He was their development director for 35 years. The amount of time and hours I've got to spend with him and pick his brain about everything from staffing to board to fundraising and development, like, that has been huge. I don't know. There's obviously the $600,000 helps a lot to be able. I was at a point where I was doing it for free, and then I was doing it for just a little bit, and I think I was dangerously close to a burnout, working at the rate I was working, and so being able to be the first paid employee and also to bring on staff and show that works, like, that structure does work when you run an organization, not just like a business, but like, I don't want to, at the end of the day, it is a business and you need to structure it right. So I think that's been, there's a lot I could say, but those two things come to mind.
It's a different world when somebody's able to pay their own bills to fulfill something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
So maybe as a parent or a volunteer, you're not necessarily looking to become a millionaire working with your nonprofit, but the reality of it is you still have bills.
Yeah.
You still got to raise a family. You still got to pay for the car and the house. And so doing something for free, although fulfilling, realistically isn't going to work.
Yeah. And I think just I know everybody's got an opinion about how nonprofits should work or how that balances with volunteering and versus getting paid and all of that. But at the same time, like, I was spending so much time with the organization, and that was pulling away from my family, even though it paid back into my family through the efforts. It was really important that I be able to help, like you're saying, Sean, those kind of things help, but also understanding that if I was to ever walk away from it, that the organization could replace me, right? With bringing in somebody of a professional level. I think that's really important, that somebody would be able to step into my role.
Yeah. Yeah. You've developed the blueprint for that role, and now somebody can step into it. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
There's two sides, if you will, to it. Like you said, the boring stuff. And now let's talk a little about the heart of the organization. And maybe to start, you described the care package program a few years ago. Can you just give us a little recap about what that is?
Yeah. So care packages came really from the foundational piece, right? Like you wanted people to know that they had community. And how can you do that? You can send a blanket or you can send a gift card. And the prior board did a really lovely job of that for bone marrow transplant patients. As the organization has grown, we started to understand that it wasn't just bone marrow transplant that was affected. There was, upon diagnosis, you're really scared and you don't know what to do. And so have published the second edition of the clinical guidelines for telomere biology disorders. And so in each of those care packages, when I write the note, I say, I hope that you feel the community surrounding you and that this package is full of education, the clinical guidelines. It's full of hope. It's full of comfort. There's a blanket, a water bottle, for all those trips to the doctor. You need a water bottle. There's stickers so you can represent your team. There's, on the kids' side, we throw in some stuff for the siblings. For adult patients who typically present with like pulmonary issues, there's pulse oximeters that we add in there, just things to kind of take the burden off. So that's sort of like, hope, education, community is what the care packages are supposed to represent.
That's amazing.
You realize with that kind of stuff that even though it's maybe coming from people you've never met in person, there's an army, big or small, that knows who you are and knows what you're going through.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes to an individual or a parent or a caregiver that sees their kid or their loved one going through a really tough time.
Yeah.
I love hearing about it. I think in any organization, both of you spend a lot of time in the space of research and treatment development, which I no doubt know is incredibly important. I don't get passionate about it, though, for myself. I get passionate about what can we do today to help that person feel important or to help that person feel like they can achieve or be free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So I love hearing about that side of an organization and those efforts. Although both are incredibly important, it's the hands-on that gets me excited.
I think it's that same, like, you're building trust, right? And like we can have the best drugs developing out there, but if you don't have patients ready to like be a part of a trial because they don't have any idea what's happening or they just don't feel connected at all or any of those things, a cure's in the future. We've talked about this. I believe that. But what's happening today to make it just a little bit softer and a little bit lighter? Like,
how do you balance those two aspects? I mean, as the leader of Team Telomere, how do you balance, developing the science with, taking care of the community or nurturing the community?
Yeah. I don't know, other than it seems to be a personality thing a little bit. I think that I really come from, like, I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. I come from like a place of nurturing. So it was really natural for me to nurture. And then through my son's journey, I learned that I had somewhat of a talent for genetics. And so I think I was in a unique position to kind of bring those two worlds together. But also, again, I don't think they're separate. I really don't think they're separate.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
What is in the near future for Team Telomere?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to say Dr. Helen Reed is our young investigator. She's out of Boston Children's Hospital. She's amazing, compassionate, kind, and brilliant. She's going to be overseeing a clinical trial that we have helped develop. We've helped fund the very beginnings of it through the $1 Million Bike Ride. And now we're getting ready to launch this clinical trial alongside Boston Children's. So we're excited because for the first time ever, it's not just treating one system, this small molecule, it's treating the actual issue, which is the telomere. And so we're really excited about what's coming.
Awesome. I want to ask you about hope. switching back to the other side of.
Do you know her?
Yeah.
She's
She's great.
I think we all know it's a tough thing to hold on hope, but also realizing the reality of our situation. To hold on hope for a treatment. Maybe there's other things to hope for, but I don't know. How do you see hope working or not working sometimes in your community?
Yeah. Oh, it's an interesting time right now to talk about hope.
Mhm.
I think it's a delicate dance with hope, right? Like you can say it and say it and say it, but doesn't mean anything to somebody who's watching their loved one die, or if they're actively dying themselves. That's a really tough thing because you're looking at holding on to hope for the future, right? And so I think, look, we're always going to maintain hope, right? That things can be better. You just have to. I think it's the only way to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I think hope looks like a lot of different things. I think hope looks like comfort to some people in community and just having that camaraderie. I think hope looks like cells of people that have died from the disease that are still helping research move forward. I think hope looks like this trial coming up. I think hope looks like a lot of different things in rare disease. And it's all of us. It's those that we've lost all the way to those that are still to be diagnosed. Like there's a long story in all of that.
Thank you.
Maybe an unfair question, so we can cut it if you don't like it.
Okay.
But we know your son.
Yeah.
We know he's thriving and he's, I don't know, 23. Like he's drinking
24.
and
doing all the things.
Falling in love and, he's doing great.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated to stay involved at the level you're involved in?
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's a fair question because of my position, right? As a leader, because my son does present very differently. And he has a path that is not like most that are diagnosed with this disease. I don't think I would have him had the organization pointed us in the right direction. He was number 6 to undergo a clinical trial for bone marrow transplant. You guys know we had to move him 3,000 miles from home. That was a privilege to be able to do that. It was a privilege to be connected with this community. And probably had the trial been written for you had to have an identified gene, which we don't, but it didn't. It said short telomeres, and he fell into that, and he got a stem cell transplant, and he has never, it'll be 10 years this year, he's never been back in the hospital since.
Wow.
I take very seriously that I wanted to pay that forward. And in that, yes, I found that I really just like my job. Right. And I think that's okay too. Like, I really do just like my job. And I really, every time I get to see him do something, that reminds me that had I not had this community, I might not have him. So,
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Say something funny.
I know. Let that one.
Well, we're not going to let you go yet.
Okay.
What's exciting for you right now? We've heard stories of Riley, your son. We've heard stories of DCO and now Team Telomere. We know about Camp Sunshine. I feel like we've talked about so much, but like you said, you've been in the position now 8 years. We first had you on, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
What is something going on in life that maybe is unrelated to all of it?
Oh, man. That's so hard, right? Because I just feel like I live and breathe Team Telomere, and I really do need to every once in a while put my head up from that. Yeah, I don't know. I've got 4 kids. My oldest that we talk about a lot, he's just living his life, tripping around and figuring out life, which is great. And my daughter is at UNLV and engaged to guy in the Air Force. So we're excited about that. We love him. Ethan, who you guys, Ethan, He just applied to University of Montana. So
Wow.
getting ready, 75% of my kids are grown. And then I've got Grayson, the little curly mop head, who's just a joy. And I don't know. And Josh and I are about to celebrate.
Oh, yeah,
I remember that guy. Yeah, Josh. It's our 25-year first date anniversary on Tuesday.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think we're good. Stevens are doing what the Stevens do. So
And how old's the youngest again?
he's 11.
Wow.
He's at that perfect age where he still likes mom.
He still loves to
He,
be around. Mom.
loves me right now. So I'm gonna eat it up. So yeah.
That's cool.
University of Montana, is that the Grizz?
Let's go,
in
Grizz.
Missoula, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. We're stoked.
Lots of good football games. Do they have an uplifting athletes chapter there?
I don't know, but they should, and I can help. So
Right.
Nice.
Let's do it.
yeah.
What is something you're most proud of in life? It can be anything. Something that you wake up every day and you feel a lot of pride because of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. I'm really proud of where Josh and I are in our lives. We've been together since we were 18 years old, and I think we're rare in love. So I think I'm really proud of my family first and foremost, what we've built together.
Yeah. All right, Katie. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us again today.
Always.
And really enjoy talking to you, and good luck on the next steps for Team Telomere.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Katie.
Sean, we talked about a complex topic with Katie, the balance of the business side or the science side of the numbers, kind of more digital kind of side, and then the soft side of getting through the day-to-day. You know, what I love talking to Katie is that is a very complex sort of equation, but she's able to break it down into terms that we understand, into true compassionate terms that we all understand.
And she navigates all those complexities with such grace.
Yep.
Just everything, the way she talks about it, the way she approaches people and science and everything in between. She's a kind-hearted and a smart woman. So, Katie, thank you for sharing so openly with us about your family and about your personal journey and that of the organization, how you guys are getting after it.
And she's funny and fun to be around. So that adds to it too.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Well, Kyle, as always, at the end of every episode, we find value in expressing gratitude. We understand the power of gratitude and how that helps keep things, or at least keeps us grounded and a wider perspective on life. So who is your thank you note going to today?
I am recognizing a thank you to the idea of person-to-person commerce. And it's a concept that occurs to me was not around, 15 years ago or whatever, when we were younger. I'm thinking of eBay specifically, but I also related to Airbnb and Uber and all these different ways that have allowed people to sell to each other and be in business with each other, I love reading about sort of the history of something like Airbnb, where there's really specific things like photos of the property that really raise the level of the commerce and the ability to connect people and stuff like that. So anyway, just kind of thinking about that, and I appreciate being able to expand our horizons and get whatever you need because somebody else has it.
And to get it pretty quickly. I wonder, it's a sidetrack conversation, but I wonder if the pros of that outweigh the cons or not. Because I imagine some people would say, oh, it's awesome, it's so easy, and you can find everything. But I wonder if other people might say, Well, now it's hard to make money because the market is so flooded with options. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, for the consumer side, the options are great, right?
It's probably like with everything. Like, it just depends on how you use it and who's in charge and and what they do with it, you know? So, but as a concept, I appreciate it.
Yeah, love it. And I guess I will also add, as an option and people having lots of options, when it comes to podcasts, this really should be the only one, right?
Yeah,
Like, why do you need the other ones? Right?
100%. Yep.
My thank you is going to a similar idea of, a thing that exists, but specifically audiobooks. A lot of people at work and people I'm around are always talking about, oh my God, this book I'm reading right now is so good. You should read it. It's cool. Dude, I cannot get myself to sit still and read a book.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I can do it on an airplane. I've taken, I read your book on a cruise many, many years ago. So sure, if there's some built-in downtime, then sure, I'll make it happen. But to actually set aside an hour or 30 minutes a couple times a week and sit in a corner and I feel like I have so much other things that I can do and should do with my time. But I have found audiobooks to be my jam. I can listen to them in the car when I have a long commute or in the gym even. So I'm all about audiobooks and things related to the information I still value, but sitting down to read, that's tough for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree because like if I'm awake, I have a need to be productive.
Yep,
and
same.
For whatever reason, whatever, I don't feel like it's necessarily reading, but if I can fold laundry while I'm listening to a book,
for
heck
sure.
Yeah, you know?
Yep. I guess I'm certainly not saying reading isn't productive. It's just not my type. Right? It doesn't doesn't work for you and me.
Yeah. One more thank you to Katie for joining us, for being an incredible friend and a leader in the rare disease community. You can check out our show notes for links to Team Telomere and the incredible work that they're doing. Please share this episode with a friend if you like what you hear. Give us 5 stars on all of the podcast platforms. Until next time, keep living with urgency. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to stay connected.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast player.